Hello students, welcome to Gyanvia School of Education. I'm Dr. Sonia Kaur Bansal and today I will be teaching you the topic liberalization in emerging Indian concerns and their educational implications. So we have to see this how the liberalization uh, is being proceeded in Indian education system and how it works. We are going to see that. So let's start it, students, with first of all learning objectives of the class that are the following. Today in my class, you will be able to understand the concept and meaning of liberalization. You will also be able to recall and recognize the concept and meaning of liberalization in education. You will also able to comprehend education policy 2009 students in India with regard to liberalization, and you will just know about the negative and positive impact of liberalization on education system in India. So these are the learning objectives and I hope you will learn all these things when I will be teaching you, so you will be understanding the concept, and you will be able to recognize the liberalization in education, and comprehending the education policy in India with regard to liberalization. So I hope you will understand all these things during the class. So pay attention and understand the positive and negative impact of liberalization and how the liberalization is working in India, how it is as concept and how it is seen as in theoretical form and in practical form in Indian education system. So let's start, students, with this. Before starting with the concept, first of all, let's define the term liberalization. What does it mean? So, liberalization, students, it's a broad term that refers to practice of making laws, system, or opinions less severe, usually in the sense of eliminating certain government regulations or restrictions. So liberalization, you can see on my presentation, that's spelled in two ways. One is Libera, another one spelling is from S, so Liberalisation, that is from British English. So both the spellings are correct, so don't get confused in that. So but mainly we are using those spelling. Liberalization is consisting of Z. All right, students. So this is about liberalization, the removal or losing of restrictions on something, typically on economic or political system. So just try to understand, students, that this is the term which is used mainly on economic or political system. Liberalization is something that is actually refers to the laws making and systems and opinions, so which is actually serving others opinions also. So it is not being so much rigid, and it is some kind of liberal in policies and all other norms and regulations. Now let's talk about liberalization in education. So liberalization in education is also referring to relaxing certain reforms and policies in India. So students, these reforms can be termed as relaxation of previous government restrictions, usually in areas of social or economic policies. So as I told you, students, that this is the meaning where we are discussing that liberalization is allowing us to be liberal and do not to be rigid while we are making the norms and regulations in something. So now we are talking in terms of education. So these reforms can be termed as relaxation of previous government's restrictions. So restrictions are converted into relaxation. So usually in the areas of social and economic policy, it is concerned. So usually the term is used in reference to economic liberalization. Though India is economically liberal, students, the education system is not considered so liberal. So, but why it happens that economically we are liberal, we are introducing other countries companies also to invest in our countries. We are liberal in that way, but we are not so liberal in the case of education system. It's not easily possible that if we want to study from a broad educational institution, so students have to go there only. It is not like that. The educational institutions are investing in our own country, and they are actually benefiting our own students also, which who are Indians. So though there are many reasons, students, one of them that the national education industry does not want competitiveness, and government does not want to give away its control. So definitely there will be a situation when the competition will be arising more and more if we allow other countries educational institutions in India. So the main reason of not being so liberal is that we don't want to lose control on our educational institutions, and people who are actually willing to study in those institutions, maybe they are doing little different from others, and they are of this sense of insecurity that they will be beating the local or regional institutions of India. So this is a kind of reason that is not making the education system so liberal. So the higher education system in India suffers from lack of autonomy and many other things. So understand this in that way. Now, it is characterized by extreme rigidity and lack of flexibility. When we are talking about education system in India, it is not so flexible, and it is not like that we can assimilate any rule and regulation on the basis of some particular situations. We have to be very particular in all the cases. So the real weakness of the higher education is in the structure itself. And there is a need for introspection and reflection. Of course, we have to do introspection upon that. When we are in present era, we are studying about the contemporary Indian issues in education system. So this is one of the major educational system which is in prevailing in a contemporary India, that our education system is not so liberal. Also, the public mindset is for the shortcut and easy going, that whatever we get it in a smooth manner, it is acceptable. If it is not if it is taking some hard work from the point of view of public or from the point of view of government, it is not easy going for either of them. So our policy in terms of education is focused more on only expanding the system with no focus on for quality education. We are definitely expending money on system. Education system is having some sort of expenditures, but we are not concerned either we are getting the quality education or not. This is a big question that arises. So one of the basic problem students today is the inability of the university system to provide higher education to all who aspire for it. This is a main problem, that many of the Indian people, they cannot study further for the higher education if they really wish so. So also there is no political commitment of public funds. Whatever the taxes we are being we are actually continuous paying. So it is, there is no political commitment that how the government is going to use those taxes for the welfare of the public. So this is the condition of liberalization in education in India. We are discussing about it in continuation. Now we have lack of research oriented education devalues the qualities of education to a large extent. Now the type of research we are actually following, or the quality education is actually really devaluing our system. So there are few institutes and companies that really carry out research work which is useful for the masses. the problem of plagiarism, the problem of copying down or unethical practices in doing research work is really a big problem in Indian institutions. So, lack of research oriented education is a really very serious problem in when we are talking about liberalization, because we are not assimilating any other institutions from any other country, but in our own country, when we are talking about quality research, so it is a very big task for some of the institutions. So according to a study, India ranks 25th. Yes, it's true. India ranks 25th in the world where it comes the quality of research and the scientific impact students. So with a country with an academic system comprising of about 2.5 million graduates each year, this statistics indicates a clear inability for the system to sustain itself. So how can we think about that the education system is sustaining in a liberal way? So this is something that alarming situation to all of us who are persisting, who are always dreaming for a good research oriented education system. So India's literacy rate around 60% places it in the company of countries such as Uganda, Rwanda, Malawi, Sudan, Burundi, and Ghana. Broadly speaking, India accounts for 50% of the world's illiterates. And even though India accounts for around 17% of the world's population. So that's how the liberalization is a dream for them. So this is how liberalization in education is working. Now, students, we have seen what is liberalization. We have seen its meaning in a very good way, and we have seen how the liberalization in education we mean. So now let's understand the education policy 2009 in India with regard to liberalization. There are many norms and regulations about it, and there are many things like Article 25 of the Companies Registration Act. And according to that, educational institutions in India can be set up only by trust, societies, and charitable companies. But a profit cannot be taken out of the institution and have to be reinvested. So it is actually set in the Article 25 related to Companies Registration Act. And in that, first thing, major thing is what it is being said that India can be educational institution if we want to set up in India. So it can be done through trust societies and charitable companies only, and profits cannot be taken out of the institution. They cannot go out of that. They have to be reinvested in themselves only. So however, the government does not define and clarify rules for foreign universities to set up campuses in India. There are no fixed norms, students. So interested parties have been hesitant about moving forward until they are clear about the degree of regulation, funding, and other issues. So this is something that we are discussing on a very serious note, that when we are talking about foreign universities, they have not clear norms and rules what is to be done if they want to set up their institution in India. So, the foreign educational institutions are not permitted to offer degrees, certifications in India. So, the education department has allowed nearly 150 foreign institutes to offer courses with Indian varsities under an arrangement that a part of the course will be done in India and the rest will be done abroad. So this is how something is planned in education policy in India in regard to liberalization. Now, next, in that continuation of the policies understanding, let's understand it also. Foreign universities have adequate experiences and the required prerequisites to immediately begin training new future researchers and teachers. and their disappointment is really very obvious. No certain actually rules for appointing the teachers, and no certain future for the researchers and teachers. So this is something really very serious note. But this there is hope for private universities in the form of foreign university bill that is seemingly on the cards as of 2009. So, if the government ensures that no fraud takes, and if it delimits the bureaucracy by placing only minimal restrictions on the incoming foreign universities, there is a chance for a vast improvement in the quality of Indian higher education system, which suffers from the government neglect. So government ensures that no fraud takes, and if it delimits the bureaucracy by placing only minimal restrictions, so it can happen for the benefit of the students also and incoming foreign universities. So students just understand that there is a vast chance of improvement in the quality of Indian higher education system, which suffers from the government's negligence itself. So when it is to be rectified, then our students of our own country will be definitely get benefited from this. Now, we have seen how the education system on liberalization, and what about education policy, and now we are going to see about the impact of liberalization on education system in India. So we can say, students, that there are definitely some positive, and first of all we are going to discuss about positive impact of liberalization, and then we are going to see the negative impact of liberalization on education system. And when we are talking about liberalization on education system, we are just talking about introducing the foreign universities or educational institutions in our own country, and we are talking about those research oriented educational institutions who are actually teaching or who are benefiting our own country's students also. So liberalization will be definitely would give a positive impact if we seek to do it in a very serious manner or a proper manner. So let's understand the positive impact of liberalization. So first of all, about that is liberalization will bring a constant stream of funding, which will also facilitate a research based career students and make it a viable option for the future of Indian teachers and students. Not only about students, it is about teachers also. If it is a constant funding system will be there, so it will definitely facilitate researchers. So it will definitely be will do good for the education system. So secondly thing, it will expand the supply which is in shortage, and the competition among educational institutions will ensure that they do not charge an excessive premium for education. So if there is a competition, there is a good competition among the educational institution, then surely we can say that some kind of merits will be shifted to students also. So increase in the supply of education will automatically result in the fall in education. So so it is a very good impact that we are going to see. Now, the Indian economy. Next is we are talking about positive impact. So, Indian economy, which is majorly fueled by the service industry, will get a boost with the education sector, becoming a large chunk of economic score. So, hundred of thousands of Indian students study abroad at an annual estimated cost of around $1 billion, and it can even stem off the exodus of thousands of students who left the country to stay abroad. This will save India's immense capital if we're going to look from the economical point of view. So this is very important, students, that if we are creating our own education system, education sector, which is becoming a large chunk to the economic source, so our India's capital will also be saved. Now, next impact, which is in positive form, that allowing corporate would ensure the development of better industry oriented graduates with specific skill sets. So, with specific skill sets, are if the graduates are there, then definitely they will be more skillful, and they will be more. They will be converted in a good human resource in our own country. So next is increased in educated population implies rapid development in technology and communications. It also implies the shift of society from industrialization based towards an information based society, where the people are now literate from the point of view of liberalization in education. More and more educational institutions are here to provide good education platform to the students around the country or around the globe. So now definitely there will be a chance to develop the technology and communication. So, liberalization offers students an option of studying close to home with the added benefits of a degree which will be valid worldwide. It also curbs like the difficult situation in India, which is more and more like brain drain situation, which is also a nation's loss. So this is a big loss, students, when we face the brain drain. It means that the cream education, cream students are, they are just leaving the country and they are serving other countries. So when they will be remaining in our own countries, and they will be actually having the benefit of having the degree in their own country and serving in their own country. So those institutions who are providing the education, they will be ultimately employing them also. So this will save our good cream students who are good brain. So brain drain problems can also be resolved through that. Now, students, we are going to discuss some negative impact of liberalization on education system in India. So definitely we have seen so much about positivity in liberalization and how the liberalization system working in India. So we had to say that India is actually spending on system but not on the quality education system. So liberalization is somewhat actually fearful for the government as they feel competitive environment. But now, apart from seeing those points and positive points, we have to definitely analyze the impact of liberalization in a negative way also, just to understand a deeper understanding of the concept. So, first of all, the international higher education is largely an unregulated market. While no doubt that there are prestigious universities hoping to build links overseas, recruit top students to their home campuses, and strengthen their brand abroad. So this is one of the negative impact, that if an international higher education system is being introduced in our own Indian education system, so there are some prestigious universities. If they are training the students of our own country, then they will be hoping to build links overseas. They will not be actually dreaming of those students about recruiting their in own country. So they will be recruiting top students. If they are of our own country, they will be recruiting those students to their home campuses and strengthen their own brand abroad. So this is how they are just actually just making their brand famous all over. But there is no dearth of peer subprime and low end private institutions which are seeking to stave off bankruptcy, through the export market, and there are even a few respectable universities which have been forced by government funding cutbacks to raise cash elsewhere. So this is the negative impact of liberalization on education system in India. Now, students and local institutions in developing countries are also similarly unregulated. At many times ill informed and often naive, students tend to avail such services without much information or understanding. So this is how the system is working. This are the students and local institution in developing countries. In, like, we can take our own country's name, India, also similarly unregulated. Something is not in regulated form, so many times they are not informed properly, and they are actually just left for their own awareness. So students tend to avail such services without much information or understanding. So a foreign label in degree is tempting enough to make them drop their wisdom. Uninformed or simply dubious institutions in developing countries may partnership with low quality colleges and universities in India. Maybe they are not having that prestigious form in their own country, but when they are coming to India, then just having the brand of abroad university, our students are attracted towards that. But they, when they are actually labeling themselves or just developing the institutions or bonds with colleges and universities in India, so it is a little doubtful about their own unregulated system. Now, there is also the risk of fake institutes. We don't know, students, that which institute is actually correct in its nature or professional ethics. So, sometimes the students are actually the victim of taking admission in fake institutions, which are looking to stuff their pockets whenever the opportunity arises. So they are not bothered about students' future, students' career. They are only actually looking for to fulfilling their own needs or own pockets in that way. So corruption is rampant in India. There is little left to the imagination as to what might be the outcome of such a policy in terms of bribes. So this is something a very good attention to be paid off. But corruption is rampant in India. It is prevailing. So there is a little left to the imagination as to what might be the outcome of such a policy in terms of bribes, false degrees, partial marking, etc. There may be unforeseen outcomes which come to light only after the outcome occurs. So, local institutions which have limited capital will not be able to survive, rendering many jobless. Even the reputed ones will face competition, as their national certificates will be less valued as compared to the world recognized certificate. So, this becomes a very difficult situation for the students when they are not recognized, when their certificates are not recognized at the world level platform. So, this has to be actually paid very serious attention also. Now, what can be the possible solutions? We have to go through them. So, students, let's have a look on the possible solutions of liberalization in education when we are looking at the negative impact of that. So, what can be done? So, just have a look on that. Now, a possible solution to this policy is that the government should be kept out of the education business. Yes, we really mean by that. Actually, government is from the point of view of political perspectives, but the government is not supposed to be very careful, very attentive about the education system, how it should work, because education system is not a business, as it is made nowadays. So partially, or if not fully, if it is possible, government should be kept out of this. So government's role should be restricted to regulating this sector, just like the other markets. The educational market might have its share of market failures. So rectifying these should be the responsibility of the regulator, and it must be independent of the government. So when there are the people who are understanding about education, its system, its need according to the current situation, when these type of people are working in education system, then only we can actually think of something good in education system, or we can really think of quality education. So these improvements must be done, or rectifications should be applied, and governments should be the responsibility or the regulator, and it must be independent of the government. So unnecessary interference by the government sometimes makes the things worse for the students of future generations, which are the actually whole and soul of upcoming system of India. Next, we can talk about possible solution is to ensure national interest are saved, and the students do not receive an inferior service from unscrupulous providers. There needs to be transparency. It can be done by the government authority. This will also help universities think about their motivations for entering the market. So students' interest must be saved. National interest must be saved. This is the big priority of any government system of any country. If the students are not securing their interest in national benefits, then how can we think that the education system will be more and more liberal? So sometimes after receiving the education, the students get inferior service by unscrupulous providers. So this should not be done, and this should be in a very transparent way. So this will help universities to think about their motivation for entering into the education business market. So this can be the another solution. So first we have seen the government's role should be cut, or it should be minimized in education system. Secondly, we have seen that students must actually serve with the national interest. So with that point of view, the brain drain problem will also be solved to some extent. Third thing what we are going to discuss, that possible solution, an effective educational regulator in India like SEBI, RBI, TRAI is also needed, which will regulate the capital markets and the banking sector and the telecom sector respectively. So certain independent rating agencies like CRISIL, ICRA, or CARE are also required to rate the institutes, and these rating needs to be made public as well. So when these ratings are made public, people are more aware about such agencies and institutions, and they are actually getting more and more benefit from this. So another possible solution can be that no less than half the members of the governing body of the institution must be Indian citizens, and the post of president or the equivalent must be an Indian citizen residing in India. So this is a possible solution if we are introducing any other countries foreign university, for example. So this is the possible solution, that we are providing more and more good chances to our own people. And it can be a good solution that no less than half the members of the governing body of that particular institution must be Indian citizen, and president post should also be designated to the Indian citizen only. So this will be actually treated in the benefit of Indian people only. So by that, the liberalization is also done, and our national interests are also saved to some extent. And now another way to protect the fleecing of the candidates, which we were talking about earlier in the negative impact as brain drain students. So is that tuition fee will not be raised without the approval of local concerned authorities. So it is very important to take the approval from local concerned authorities. So foreign universities can also be regulated by giving them a limited period trial, a sort of probation period. And it would on the basis of performance in the trial period, that these universities will be allowed to set up long-term operations. So these can be the possible solutions, students. And next, in that, the proposed system should be applied to all modes of operation. Franchise agreements, twinning programs, study centers, program collaborations, and offshore or branch campuses. So this is something that must be done in a serious note if we want to get liberal in education system. So strong disincentives such as forfeiture of substantial security deposits. This will ensure that foreign players and their partners do not discontinue their operations after a few years, leaving students in the lurch. So strong disincentives must also be there. The priorities should be given to those institutions which have been accredited in their country or origin. It means they are following all the norms, all the regulations which have been decided by the higher authorities, higher governing authority. The institution will also be expected to submit the latest audit report of the accreditation agency. So if this type of system is established, then definitely this can be treated as a possible solution to reduce the negative impact of liberalization in education system of India. To avoid kind of monopoly, the system will be made transparent and quick. Though a bit strict measure, prohibition of sending profits back home to parent institutions abroad can also be a conservative measure. Also, only foreign universities from countries that offer Indian universities a business opportunity abroad should be allowed it. So these are the possible solutions, students. So effective registration and certification system are also needed. Certification must be very useful for the students. It should have its significance from the global point of view. So such a regulation should prevent unapproved institutions from partnering, protects the informs the consumers, enables good quality foreign institutions to enter in the Indian markets education market, and which create a level playing the field between domestic and foreign institutions or universities or educational systems, so that the former can compete effectively in a liberalized environment. This way, the benefit from the liberalization of higher education services will be unilaterally and multilateral on the import as well as export fronts. So, furthermore, this will ensure that students are fully informed about the educational institutions. They are not sounding unaware about that. So when everything is clear and transparent for our own students or our own Indian students, then they will be having more trust on our government, and the collaborating abroad universities. So it will be benefited for to the students. So now let's see the conclusion what we have seen. Students, we have seen the meaning of liberalization and meaning of liberalization in education system and its status in education system in India. Then we have seen education policy on liberalization recommendation of 2009. Then we have seen its positive as well as negative impact. We have also seen the possible solutions. Now, through these and other intelligent reforms, now we have come to the conclusion. So, these and other intelligent reforms which we have discussed just now. So, jobs which are more productive and human capital enhancing from a much more organized private sectors will be reality. So these regulations will go on long way towards fostering accountability and responsibility on the part of foreign universities and institutions. See, students, just try to understand in that way that it is not difficult for a foreign university to enter in our education system, but it will be difficult for our own Indian students to adapt or to be aware of that university about that full-fledgedly. So if all the rules, all the norms are actually given accountability, so and responsibility as well, so this must be on the part of the foreign university and institutions if they want to go on a long way with us. So only then liberalization is fruitful for us. So the same can be implied on all Indian universities and institutions as well, whether public or private sector. Then in conclusion, we can say that India needs to improve the availability, affordability, and quality of higher education. There should be a tendency that if degree is being earned, it should be earned on a serious note. It should not be earned for the sake of just getting the degree on papers. So availability of education should be to the maximum people, as we have discussed in initial slides, that availability of our education system is not easily available to the many sectors of Indian students. So affordability, there should not be increase in fee system all of a sudden, and it should be avoided at any cost. So in conclusion, we can say that this can be achieved through effective liberalization of the education system, encouraging the migration of students from one state to another, and providing more scholarship to the students and loan to the students from the poor or the middle class. So this will actually increase their chances for availing the education, and ultimately it will be for the welfare of the country. So only then the Indian education system will become a sound one if we are availing, if we are making it affordable, and if we are maintaining the quality of high education in our country. So which will be the foundation of sustained growth also in future. Now students, these are some references for your more study purpose. You can go through them when you look at my video afterwards. So just have a look on them. Now students, let's discuss few MCQs related to liberalization. Now, eliminating government set restrictions or barriers is known as, so it is free trade, favorable trade, investment, liberalization. Yes, the correct answer is mentioned here, that is D, liberalization. So when we are talking about eliminating government set restrictions which was set by earlier government, or the barriers which were set by the earlier governments, now we are becoming little lenient in that, little relaxing in that. So rigidity is not there, and we are not talking about free trade, favorable trade, investment. Liberalization is the correct answer. It is known as liberalization. Secondly, what does liberalization aim at? So students, let's have a look on the options. Correct answer is also mentioned to you, but let's understand all the options. Socialistic pattern of society, economic planning, economic reforms, land reforms. So these are some of the options, and the most appropriate option, what does liberalization aim at? So it is aiming at economic reforms in the education system when we are particularly talking about liberalization in education. All right, students. So this is something how it works. So liberalization is something that is giving you more opportunity to be liberal, to be flexible, to be more actually availing the opportunities for making the education system available, affordable to all. It focuses on quality education. So it is aiming at economic reforms also, where the students of our country are proceeding towards foreign universities for getting good degrees. But ultimately, what is happening? Our capital is going away. So, economic reforms, if we want to focus, it is the main purpose of liberalization. Nextly, question 3, price rigidity is the characteristics of which of the following? So, price rigidity is the characteristics of which of the following? So, is it monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic competition, perfect competitive competition? So, the correct answer of price rigidity is the characteristic of monopolistic competition, where the prices are very rigid, they do not compromise, and they are actually they are having the set quality of their product, maybe they of their own institution, of their degrees, certificates, diploma. So this is something related to price rigidity in monopolistic competition of environment. So this is all about liberalization. Thank you so much, students, and I hope you have understood well about liberalization and what it is. What do we mean by that? What is liberalization? How does it work? And how we have seen the liberalization in Indian education system. What are its positive and negative impact? And what are the possible solutions that we can see if we want to make our Indian education system more and more liberal? So this is something that have to be seen, that we have discussed that government's role should be reduced, and there should be a kind of government that can be just a monitoring authority, but it should be given more and more space in its platform. So liberalization is something that is focusing more availability, affordability, and quality of good education students. So liberalization is needed in many ways. So we can understand that liberalization is very, very important for good education system. And being prospective teachers, you must understand that if we are understanding the concept of liberalization in education in contemporary Indian education system, then we are training ourselves into such form of teaching or teaching community that we are availing more and more options to our own country people to avail education at any cost. All right, students. So I hope you have understood well, and you will be revising the topic. Just go through the topic and from my video if you want to revise it. Till then, take care and stay healthy. See you in the next class.